Hi guys, welcome to Rootstem Gaming. Apologies for the echo, I'm having to do this quick. I'm going to talk about Chapter Approved 2019. So there's been a lot of videos online talking about the points values, which of course is in a nice neat little separate book. I'll be honest, I actually think that this should have been released on a yearly basis. I can't understand why Games Workshop, to be honest, just stop putting the points values in the back of the codexes. Just give one of these out every 6 months or so, and then that should solve a lot of people's issues of how many points it is, what points is it. We can even scribble or put notes on there, or even, if anyone remembers the old 3rd edition, give us a printout of that, and we'll just stick it on top. Everyone's got access to Prickstick. Here you've got nearly every unit you can think of, except of course the units that's moved into legendary status, which primarily for me in my head is mainly units that appear on bikes. I know Games Workshop's been, well, we're going to be doing it with a lot of units that, never appeared on bikes, but used to be able to get chaplains on bikes, and they're now a legendary unit. So White Scars players, unfortunately, you might be a little shafted. But let's talk about the meat book. So the meat book, Chapter Approved 2019, we have some very lovely artwork in this book. Now, this book itself is very differently laid out. It's very bright, it's very colourful, and it feels a bit more like apologies for the flare, it feels a bit more like White Dwarf than it does a Chapter Approved book. You can even tell from the page style. So if you look at this book here, this feels like a classic 8th edition 40k rulebook, maybe even 7th, maybe even 6th. This one, however, has a completely different feel. They're using different backgrounds, one by the looks of it in a negative to the other. And I've got sidebars. Now, I do think some of the other ones came with sidebars, but not in this format. And the whole book is pretty much like this. It's very different. It feels very different. It feels like a modernisation of Games Workshop's design process. But enough about me going into the design of the actual book. I'll be honest, even the pages feel a bit different, and the cover feels very different as well. It's quite packed with a lot of things. I'll just move my tea. So, again, even the front, when you open it, it's very White Dwarf. Colour images are telling you what you're getting. That feels like padding, personally. But, oh well. So, page 5, of course, introduction. Telling you all about the additions that they're going to be doing and ways to play 40k. So this is kind of more of an errata itself to the ways of playing 40k. And some lovely artwork again with Angels versus Orcs. But again, these feel like they've been, the images feel like they've been glossed and make them look very nice. If anyone actually has seen some of the battle reports on my channel, we do use some open war cards, although we tend to do it with match play points. So we tend to play some match play games with open war cards. We just ignore some of the stuff like ruses and the sudden death that you actually get in the back end of the card set. But they've brought out different ways of using these decks. These are right, I do like open war. They're good for like a quick game if you've not got just got an opponent that you're just wanting to cobble together a game with. And they're going to give you some different options. So things like secret agendas, covert operatives. Don't want to go too much into it because I don't want my channel to get banned. But right at the end, which is what a lot of people are probably going to be looking at, is an open war army generator. So this is quite a clever little way of getting a random cobbled together army put on the tabletop. I'll be honest, this would be a really good way of finding out who is a really good general, because the best generals will work with what they have access to, not what points values they're going to be given. Basically, what you kind of do is select what type of level you're wanting. So you've got 30, 60, 90. I'll be honest, but I'm guessing majority of people will probably go for a 60 power level game. A lot of my narrative games have been done to the 120 mark, so these are probably going to be about 1500 points. Then what you do is use your army generator. So there is a chart, it's what's called a D66 chart, if anyone's used to using those. If you're an Necromunda player, you're going to be used to using those. And effectively you can either generate it before the battle or you can do it during deployment. I like the idea of that. You can even have ruses and sudden death, so you can actually draw more points values if you want to, but some players may just want to, sorry, I'll adjust the camera. Some players may just want to just keep it to a specific role. You can have one dedicated transport. This is added to your power level when you select heavy support, fast attack, elites and troops. That's pretty cool, to be honest with you. Conquer any unit with a HQ. And this is the chart. I'm not going to linger too much on it in case people decide to screenshot, but pretty much a D66. And there's like champion units or 3 units of troops, 1 fast attack or 1 elite, or it can just end up being 1 elite. I'll be honest, that'll be really cool if you're trying to figure out how many command points you're going to get. That'd be completely random. I do think I'm probably going to have a 90 power level game using one of these, and I might even record the units that we are getting. That will be quite nice, actually. Next up, we've got narrative play. Narrative play, a really nice, big, glossy. Luke, look at that. I might take, yes. That is definitely me and Luke in our campaign currently, as of recording this. So basically, you're going to be getting a new mission, Spearhead. For anyone that's actually played the Spearhead before, I believe you used to be able to get it in White Dwarf years ago, and then it became available as a separate section. Or was it Escalation? That might have been Escalation. I might be thinking of something completely different. But it does allow some special abilities. We've got roads. And we've got dangerous terrain. Dangerous terrain is pretty cool because if you roll, basically it's like the old school roll a 1, suffer a wound, but this is a mortal wound, so it's not savable. And then you've got roads. So if you're spending a vehicle that doesn't have the fly keyword, spends its entire move on a road, it's going to be moving it 3 inches. I can see Workshop maybe releasing some roads. I think there was an image that I saw that looked like something. This is just a breakdown of things like Dawn Raid, Concealed Deployment, Preliminary Bombardment, other type of narrative special rules that we've seen before. And then you've got the battles. So you can even have like a battle tank graveyard where things are ablaze and becomes dangerous for other units, increasing somebody to a tank case. That'd be quite cool, to be honest with you. I'd like to see what some people's managed to make of tank cases. And then you've got the missions themselves, and the missions come with their own warlord trait if you wish to use it. I'm guessing in here there's probably a way to create your, basically to create your army, probably relying very much so on vehicles. A brief different way of playing certain things like spearhead battles, large pieces of terrain, just telling you how to set it up, what you're going to be using, objective markers, and of course all vehicle units gain armoured conquest, which pretty much means that they're going to be doing the same as a troops choice on a normal game. We've got the missions. These are just example missions, or missions for you to be able to play through. And then this is my favourite little bit here with Spearhead. This is Spearhead Stratagems, and these are a particular one stratagem for each army currently out there. So you've got one for Chaos Knights, which is basically when you can reroll the damage roll for attacks with using this model's Titanic Feet. That's pretty cool. Haywire Strike for the Harlequins. One that was quite disappointing, guided by Azrani, or whatever, however you say it. I'm an Elder player, and choose a Fire Prism model. Until the end of a phase, when resolving attacks made by that prism's lands profile, you can reroll the hit roll. I'll be honest, if anyone's playing Spearhead and you've not got at least 3 Fire Prisms and you're using the Fire Prism stratagem, that is pretty much useless. The rest of them, Quantum Shielding, that one's pretty good when you roll 2d6 and pick which one you're wanting to use. And then Hunter Organ, that one's quite nice. Select one enemy vehicle unit, visible to a synapse creature, roll a d6. Start back on a 6, the vehicle unit suffers d6 mortal wounds, because it's just had little organisms hunt it down. That's quite, yeah, that's got quite a thematic feel to it. A little bit about linked games. I didn't really go into this too much. This feels more like an article that you would actually get in White Dwarf than you would special rules. So it's a bit like telling you how to do certain things. Again, it feels more like it doesn't feel like should be part of Chapter Approved 2019. It actually really does feel like this should be a completely separate entity, and it should be in White Dwarf. Also in the narrative section, you've got challenge missions. Now, these would be pretty cool, to be honest with you. Again, these feel, the layout makes it feel like an article in White Dwarf as well, rather than it actually being a set of 40k rules. I think that's what's kind of putting me off here. You do get kind of last stand missions. These are going to be quite cool for people that seem to think they're really, really good at the game. Basically putting them in the hot seat, just letting them say, right, okay, no problem. If you are really, really good and you want to go against the odds, which, to be honest with you, Deathwatch, I like the image because Deathwatch versus Orcs or Deathwatch versus anything, these missions should be in there. And of course, each mission's got its own little stratagems, like we are used to. We used to a lot with the narrative games. Again, it's the new format. I'm not liking it, I'll be honest, because it makes it feel like I'm reading a White Dwarf article. And of course, we've got additions to match play. Well, it's not really additions. It's basically putting all the clarifications together in one place. So we've got everything. We've got the reason for Battle Brothers, boots on the grounds, limits of command, prepare positions. That's pretty cool. It's actually telling you what you can and can't do all in one place, without it being on 8 bits of scrap paper that you've downloaded over the past 6 months. That does make it feel nice, and of course you've got a bunch of Eternal War and Maelstrom of War. I've not gone through all the missions so far, but I have been told that some of the missions are very similar to missions that have appeared before, just with some nice rectifications and changes. Now, I do like this. I do like the fact that they've put what they actually had it in White Dwarf into chapter approved to make it properly official and allow everybody that didn't manage to get hold of that particular magazine to be able to play it. Generating an objective deck, having tactical objectives, proper placement, having your deck. I can see these being played in a lot of tournaments. It is quite a randomized play scheme. In fact, doing one of these Maelstrom games with the random armies that you're going to get, that would actually be quite interesting to do. And getting your usual missions, again in this new looking format. And then an appendix at the back. The appendix at the back is just updating the data sheets. Now, I'm fine with this being in here, because not everyone, again, is going to get access to the various different publications that's going to have the new data sheets in there. It's just very annoying when you're having to wade through bits that are not for your army. But all in all, it's a very, I'll be honest, I'll probably end up using, the points, of course. I'll probably end up using some of the open war suggestions, because they'll actually be really fun, I think, to record and play. That's going to be some good missions up there. I'll be using the new missions from the game, possibly the new Maelstroms. So, of course, we're going to have a bit more of a dynamic. You've got a bit more set out of what you can and can't do. Not sure I'm going to be doing linked games. I used to do linked games in campaigns years ago, so this is nothing new to me. Maybe it is to newer players. I'm not sure. I'll probably be playing some games of this. But if I am playing some Spearhead missions, it's going to have to be Grange versus my... Yeah, I'll probably have to play against my Eldar, because my Eldar is the only one with a hell of a lot of tanks. I think Grange has got a hell of a lot of tanks as well. Unless we start mixing some armies up, we might be able to mix some Marines and maybe some other, forces together. It is narrative play, so why use one force when you can have multiple? Yeah, and maybe chuck in a couple of knights. All in all, a decent purchase. Is it worth the full £20? Probably not, where, I'm not quite sure what it's going to be in international levels. You might be able to find it cheaper online. There is, of course, a lot of places that do discounts, but getting hold of it quickly, possibly for that is why majority of people are going to be purchasing this book, is these, I've already scuffed it already, that's never a good thing, is going to be that field manual, and it doesn't feel, I'll be honest, I've had this out 2 seconds, and look at that. The corners have already been, and all I've done is kept it on this table. I literally unwrapped it and put it on this table, so that doesn't feel like it's been well, even though the paper feels like a glossier quality. It might be done to make it feel more expensive, but it's actually probably made on the cheap bad for workshop, and that don't feel. I wish they'd release that in a bit of a hardback, because these are the books that you take with you all the time. So having that in a bit of a hardback would be a lot better than having it floppy everywhere. Especially since I've got all my codexes in hardback. Oh well, thank you very much for watching, guys. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button if you want to see more. My opinion is my opinion. You know, not everyone's going to agree with it. Some people are probably going to like the new design layout. Again, I'm not particularly fussed, because it does make it look like it is an article in White Dwarf rather than it actually being proper rules for the gamers. I like to have a bit of a variation and a bit of difference. But thanks very much for watching. Give us a comment below if you on what you think of the design. Tell me whether or not you actually think that it's quite nice, or whether it's quite refreshing, or even because it does look similar to some previous designs. I'm sure I've seen the layout before. You let me know where you've seen it. Might be some other Games Workshop publications. I don't know. But thanks very much. We'll see you next time.